Good morning, everyone. All right, good morning. I'd like to call this meeting of the Ottawa County Board of Commissioners to order. This September 10, it's 9:02. We're going to get started with prayer and pledge. So if Pastor Keone Hughes is here, get us started, please. Welcome.
I'd be honored. Let's pray. God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, I come to you this morning in the power of your Holy Spirit, and I ask for your mighty hand to intercede for this governing body. I want to thank you for being the God who created all things and who spoke all things into existence that are. Thank you for loving us in our rebellion against you and for sending your only Son to live the life that we could not live, to die the death we deserve to die, so we could inherit the life that we could never earn. Thank you for giving salvation and eternal life to all who would believe that your Son is the living Son of God and resurrected Savior. Thank you for the freedom in this country and in this county that we have to worship you without fear of tyranny. Thank you for the men and women who died to secure that freedom and for those who serve to uphold it. I want to thank you for each of the members of this board who have been elected by the people of this county and who have been sovereignly placed by your hand in this room. Would you give them wisdom, Father, where they lack it, gentleness where they need it, and unity to accomplish together what they never could apart. Father, I pray that you would not only preserve the culture of this county, but that you would have the kindness to grant that children from many generations to come would inherit the blessings of faith, family, and freedom. All glory be to you in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, your Son. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. All right, please stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, will the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Cosby. Here. Mr. Kleinjens. Mr. Zylstra.
Here.
Mr. Bonema.
Here.
Mr. Moss.
Here.
Mrs. Wenzel.
Present.
Mrs. Curran.
Here.
Mrs. Rhodey.
Here.
Mr. Belknap.
Here.
Mr. Bergman. Mrs. Miedema.
Here.
Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
All right, great. Well, next up, we have correspondence. And first for correspondence is Sheriff Kemker. Oh. Morning.
Morning, Board.
Morning.
First, I'd like to thank you, Mr. Chair, and board members for allowing us to come here this morning to present some awards. We have a stack of them. I'll keep it moving right along for you. And again, I also want to thank the staff of the Sheriff's Office that is here for support, and also the family members of those receiving awards for coming today. So thank you for that. So we'll start with our first awards. These are life-saving awards. These incidents all occurred while the deputies were on duty here in Ottawa County. And one of these incidents also took place in our jail facility. So the first life-saving award was actually a group effort. I'd like to have deputies Dirksen, Springer, and Salas come forward, please. So for the three corrections deputies here, they are receiving the life-saving award for the life-saving action taken on June 23, 2024 at the Ottawa County Correctional Facility in the Township of Olive, County of Ottawa, State of Michigan. Deputy Dirksen, Deputy Springer, Deputy Salas were alerted to a possible medical event within the jail. Deputy Dirksen was first on scene and observed a citizen inmate exhibiting seizure-like symptoms with no pulse. Deputies Dirksen, Springer, and Salas began CPR and immediately applied the AED, and a shock was administered. Again, with their efforts, the inmate did regain a pulse. And again, due to the quick response and actions of these deputies, saved the life of the inmate that was lodged in the Ottawa County Jail. Just to confirm for you on all these life-saving awards, medical personnel, doctors from the hospitals did confirm that if these actions were not taken, the individuals would not have survived. So again, congratulations to all three of you for stepping up and performing above and beyond. The next set of life-saving awards will be presented to Deputy Norris, Deputy Forrest, and Deputy Maher. Again, the three deputies before you here are road patrol deputies assigned to the Road Patrol Division of the Ottawa County Sheriff's Office. And the life-saving awards for these three deputies are for the life-saving action taken on February 19th, 2024 in the Township of Holland, County of Ottawa, State of Michigan. Having been dispatched to a medical call, Deputy Norris arrived at the residence where the patient, Mr. McGregor, was unresponsive, without a pulse, and not breathing. Deputy Forrest was there also, attached the AED. They continued with the three of them here with CPR. Shock was administered by the AED. And as a result, Mr. McGuire has made a recovery. And again, the pulse was regained. He actually regained consciousness at the scene. So again, the deputy's actions directly resulted in the life saving of Mr. McGregor. So again, congratulations to all three of you. The next life-saving award will be presented to Deputy Eric Smith. Deputy Smith, you've been with us how many years now? One, yeah, over about 23, 24 years. Deputy Smith is assigned under the Jamestown Township contract that Jamestown has with the Ottawa County Sheriff's Office. And he's receiving the life-saving award also for life-saving action taken on April 26, 2024 in the Township of Jamestown, County of Ottawa, State of Michigan. Having been dispatched to a medical call, Deputy Smith found the patient, Mr. Stoddard, in his truck, unresponsive, and witnesses were actually performing CPR at the time. Deputy Smith attached the AED, and the patient was continued with CPR. After several shocks were administered, Mr. Stoddard did regain a pulse and was transported to the hospital, and again, has made a recovery. And again, due to Deputy Smith's actions, taking the quick action that he did, resulted in the life saving of Mr. Stoddard. Eric, again, congratulations. The next life-saving award is for Deputy Mallory Goff. So the life-saving award for Deputy Goff is for life-saving action taken on April 22 of 2024 in the Township of Spring Lake, County of Ottawa, State of Michigan. Having been dispatched to a medical call, Deputy Goff arrived at the residence where the patient, Mr. Woods, was unresponsive and witnesses had started CPR. Deputy Goff attached the AED to the patient and began to administer CPR also. After a shock was administered to Mr. Woods, he again began breathing immediately at the scene. Paramedics also arrived at the scene. Several other shocks were administered by the paramedics. And again, Mr. Woods did make a recovery. Deputy Goff's actions with the pre-treatment resulted directly in the saving the life of Mr. Woods. So Mallory, again, congratulations. Yeah. Chief Massenbrook from Crockery Township Fire Department is here. The Crockery Township Fire Department would also like to recognize Deputy James Dreyer. James, if he's. Good. Chief, thanks for coming today. Appreciate it. So the life-saving award for Deputy Dyer for the life-saving action taken on July 14, 2024 in the Township of Crockery, County of Ottawa, State of Michigan. Having been dispatched to a medical call, Deputy Dyer arrived at the residence where the patient, Mr. Benkart, was unresponsive without a pulse and not breathing. Accompanied by the Crockery Township Fire Department, Deputy Dyer attached the AED and began to administer CPR. This continued, and after a total of 4 shocks to the patient were administered, a pulse was regained with a regular rhythm maintained. Again, with the efforts of Deputy Dyer and the members of the Crockery Township Fire Department, resulted directly in the life-saving efforts for Mr. Benkart. And he has recovered. I had the opportunity to see him several weeks ago and seems to be doing very well. So again, James, congratulations.
Deputy Dyer, this is the life-saving award from Crockery Township Fire Department, from its citizens and from the township itself. We appreciate your actions that day. That is why my personal friend was able to be home that day, is because of your actions and your quick, decisive life-saving efforts. Appreciate it.
The next award is for a Distinguished Law Enforcement Service Award for Deputy Aaron Pierce. Oh, he's here, retired sergeant. You're right behind me. All right. So, retired Sergeant Chris Coster is here. Chris retired January. So it's been that long already. Great. So Chris was involved in this incident with Aaron Pierce. And again, we've referred this to the Distinguished Law Enforcement Service Award. Deputy Pierce, this is for your courageous actions taken on June 10, 2023 in the Township of Georgetown, County of Ottawa, State of Michigan. Dispatched to a suicidal and homicidal male parked and standing outside his vehicle with shots reported being fired. Deputy Pierce positioned his car to have a clear line of sight of the male subject. The male subject then drew a handgun from his vehicle and pointed it directly at the negotiating Sergeant Chris Coster. It was evident that Sergeant Coster's life was in immediate danger. Deputy Pierce took immediate action, eliminating the threat and hitting the subject. Deputy Pierce's quick action resulted in the saving of Sergeant Coster either from serious injury or death. One of the things in our career that is a hard thing, but Aaron did appropriately what was needed to be done and did it very courageously. I know Sergeant Coster is very receptive and gracious, and the situation could have been much worse. So again, Aaron, outstanding performance, and we wish you the best with this award. Well, again, Mr. Chair and Board, I'd like to say thank you for allowing us to come in for a few minutes to do these presentations. I know we mentioned them several months ago. Since these were published, there's more on my desk now. So it just shows the great work that these deputies are doing, the support from the county and our citizens. But again, the equipment that's provided, it works. It's obvious. We have citizens in our county that are alive today. And again, I want to especially thank the citizens of Ottawa County that support the Sheriff's Office for what we do in our mission every day. Again, thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Yeah, where's her? Oh. I got her. I hope they have refreshments.
Okay, well, that was wonderful to hear. Up next on our agenda is Bob DeVries. Welcome, Bob.
Morning, Commissioners. Thanks for having me here. A little bit of a tough act to follow from life-saving to Lansing politics, but I'll do my best to keep it quick. So I was last here sometime in early June. I come once a quarter to talk a little bit about what's going on in Lansing, and the legislature has met about 3 times since we saw each other last. And so there's not a ton to update on, but legislature recessed on June 27 for the summer, and they have not yet come back. There should be a session day or 2 later this month, and then not again until after the November elections. And so it's a little bit lighter than normal, even for an election year, but with the very tight margins they have in Lansing, legislators seem more focused on being out on the campaign trail right now than they are in Lansing. And that's not abnormal, as I said, but it is definitely lighter than normal, especially for the fall. Since I was here last, the state budget did pass. There was a significant increase in county level revenue sharing, which I'm sure you've seen, but there was a $30 million increase. Ottawa County's allocation increased by $700,000 to $6.3 million from the state. And it's interesting, they changed the formula just a little bit in a way that seems to benefit Ottawa County. The original amount stayed the same. There should say the amount that you got last year, but this new $30 million was distributed based on taxable value rather than on the old formula, which is mostly based on population. And so for a place like Ottawa County, where there's a lot of second homes and a decent amount of industry, that helped. And so $700,000 increase from the state. This fall, there's a couple of big issues pending. You're going to hear a lot about economic development funding. The state just in June appropriated $250 million for site readiness for a big economic development site near Flint. And I would imagine that there's going to be several more requests as the end user of that site is made public and they figure out what's going on there. It sounds like it's some sort of large advanced manufacturing facility, but I think that will be taking up most of the oxygen this fall and into December. One other thing, though, we're keeping an eye on for the county, House Bill 4630 is an expansion of the Indigent Defense Act. As you guys probably remember, several years ago, state passed a law that put some mandates on counties for indigent defense services. That's what led to Ottawa County establishing the Office of the Defender. And most of that funding comes from the state to cover that mandate. 4630 would expand that mandate to include defense of juvenile offenders as well, which not surprisingly would add a significant extra cost. And so we're monitoring it to make sure that if that bill passes, it comes along with the funding necessary so that Ottawa County doesn't have to eat the unfunded mandate. And I think the fact that the funding has not been identified is what's the holdup in that, but I would expect some action on that by the end of the year, and we'll work on making sure the appropriate funding is attached. I'm not going to run through the whole list of our priorities we've been keeping an eye on all year, but there is some defense that we're going to need to be playing yet in lame duck, particularly on the septic code bill. We've talked about this nearly every time I've been in over the last year. And it's luckily that the septic code bill has not had a lot of traction, but they're going to take one more push at it yet this fall. We're going to try to do our best to make sure that it doesn't get done. Thankfully, we've got universal support from our Ottawa County delegation on this, and they've been really helpful in first trying to make sure the bill doesn't pass, and second, if it does, allowing any counties like Ottawa County that have their own system to be grandfathered in, so we don't have to make a change. And then lastly, I would just encourage you, as the legislative year is almost over, so it's a good time to start thinking about what our priorities for next year will be, whether we need to get something changed or whether there's funding that we need to go pursue. But it's a good time to start thinking about that and meeting with our legislators and talking to them about what we need them to do for us in the coming year. But that is my brief update, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Anyone have any questions?
I guess I do have a question. Just wondering if there has been any developments at all in regards to parental rights and vaccine mandates, anything along those lines, because that's the type of thing I'd be concerned about, passing through in a lame duck session.
Sure. So to my knowledge, there's no bills introduced that would add more mandates. I do think, though, that most of the authority related to vaccines is just given to MDHHS, and they can make their own rules about it. Now, there haven't been any rules announced, rules promulgated, and so I don't think there's anything pending. But I think if there is action on that, it would be more at the bureaucratic level than it would be at the legislative level. But it's something I'm happy to keep an eye on and let you know if I hear anything.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Thank you, Bob, as always. Appreciate it. All right, next up on the agenda for today's public comment. It's an opportunity to address the board. You have 3 minutes, and if you could share your name and where you vote, that would be great. Do we have a list?
Yes, we currently have 4. Number 1 is Joel Buck, Georgetown Township.
Morning, Joel Buck, Georgetown Township. Didn't remember to bring my glasses, so should have printed this out. I'm an active member of the Republican Party. I serve on the executive committee. I'm a precinct delegate as well. I've lived in Ottawa County for about 23 years now. Grew up right on the border and Kanawha and Byron Center. Here to speak about 3 topics. First, I've learned a lot about the political system in the past few years after being involved since 2022 as a precinct delegate. During COVID, we found out that many politicians do not serve the people or uphold the Constitution. They just serve themselves. They are not honest about the policies and principles they stand for. They stand behind the badge Republican because they know Ottawa County is a conservative county and they cannot get elected if they run as Democrats. Second, there is a new standard for Republicans. That standard is truth and the party platform. The Republican Party will not tolerate dishonest citizens who run with an R by their name, but don't uphold Republican principles. I want to share some facts with the board. Phil Kyers ran as a Republican this year and won his primary for District 9 Commissioner by working with Democrats and courting Democrat crossover votes. While Phil was on the board in the past, he promoted radical DEI policies. He failed to stop disastrous COVID policies. He failed to protect children. He failed to listen to the people, even when thousands showed up in person. In fact, despite offering commentary on the meeting as the president of the Michigan Association of Counties, Phil Kyers was not even present at the 1,000-parent meeting. Ottawa County needs honest leaders who act like Republicans. That is why I am here to publicly thank Republican Commissioner Roger Belknap for running to file as a write-in candidate. And I encourage Republicans to vote for him in District 9 in the upcoming election. Next, Jim Barry ran as a Republican this year and won his primary for District 1 Commissioner by working with Democrats and courting Democrat crossover votes. Jim is the brother of career politician Bill Huizenga. Jim and his church publicly sponsor gay pride events in Holland, which expose children to sexually explicit drag shows. Jim's brother, Bill Huizenga, endorsed him and helped him get elected. Ottawa County needs honest leaders who act like Republicans. That's why I'm here to publicly thank Republican Commissioner Gretchen Cosby for filing to run as a write-in candidate for county commissioner. And I encourage Republicans to vote for her in District 1 in the upcoming election. My third point, the standard has been raised for all elected officials in Ottawa County. Government officials must uphold truth, defend freedom, children, and the Republican platform, and focus on common sense policy. We, the people, are learning how corrupt uniparty politicians operate and look forward to reviving Ottawa County, protecting our children, and electing honest candidates. We look forward to sharing the truth with our communities over the next 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 2, Orlando, Holland Township. Holland City.
How's everybody doing today? Oh, I forgot you guys can't speak. I want to be an upbeat guy. I don't want to be a downer. I want to maintain my positive attitude. One thing that I like about Commissioner Doug is he made live streaming cool before it was cool. It's a real thing. It's great. But let's talk about some county business. So these body cameras, $4.5 million. Did you guys actually read it or did you not read it? Don't worry, don't answer that. It's not a big deal. Or is it? On a serious note, the body cameras, I want to make sure that the board's aware of these things. And I don't care who wants to use for the campaign or not, but I want to make sure we avoid the mistakes that Allegan County made. And that is, if we install body cameras, do they stay on the whole time? If they have to turn them off, do they have to log it in? If the body cameras are recording footage to protect both the officer and the civilian, how long is that data going to be available? 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, never? These are important things to know. And the reason why I bring this up to the board is because there's an unspoken community, and that's a falsely accused community. They don't really get any airtime because maybe they don't have the funds, and maybe they need to go to the public defender's office, which should probably be beefed up, which I will definitely be speaking about as well, but that won't be my main focus today. I also want to clear up some confusion because some people get confused with my initials. My initials are not OI, it's actually OE, Orlando Estrada. It's actually pretty simple. People like you, Mr. Chair, haven't really done anything for me, nor do I care if you do anything for me. And if you want to talk behind my back, that's fine too. It's really not a big deal. But what I do know is every snow that social media posts, they don't vote. They just don't. So if you want to send people my way to attack me, I think that's great. I mean, I would think Mr. Spalding agrees. Oh, he's not here today. I guess he has better things to do. I don't know. But yeah, the long story short is simply this, is the body cameras, I'm glad that something is going to be done about it. And I'm not really here to say who should take credit for it. I just want to make sure it's done correctly because it's not about me, it's about the community. I really do believe that everybody here on this board actually does care about the community regardless of what their letter is behind them, but it's a bigger thing. So with that being said, I hope everybody takes this seriously. And don't be surprised if some surprises come starting Friday the 13th. Oh, one more thing. That's the county logo right there with the Indian head, but yet we have one here where we just have the land. And I was kind of wondering who actually approved that? 'Cause that's, I'm not here to say it's offensive or racist. I just think it's kind of odd that we have, it's just kind of inconsistent with branding. So it's like, why do we have that? How much money do we spend on that? That's also important too. But with that being said, I hope you guys have an awesome day and don't let people say bad things about you ruin your day neither. Thank you and thank you.
Thank you.
Number 3, Rebecca Patrick, Allendale Township.
Morning, Commissioners. Rebecca Patrick, Allendale. Unfortunately, in opposition to what the previous commenter said, I do have a few bad things to say this morning. So the first comment, I have 2 comments, both about board leadership. The first comment is that I find it interesting that the board chair continues to believe that he can ignore residents as well as the county clerk. I sent a communication to Mr. Roebuck a couple of weeks ago asking for a couple of extra minutes to make public comment this morning pursuant to Board Rule 6.7. Mr. Roebuck forwarded it to Mr. Moss, and Mr. Moss ignored it and never responded, which tells me that he has not yet absorbed the lessons of the August primary election. Which brings me to the comment I wanted to make. In the last month, we have had a situation in which not 1, but 2 different courts have found that Ottawa Impact Board majority, elected officials with the full power and authority of government behind them, first, tried to take political retribution against a political opponent using the power of the government. And second, did not follow the law in dealings with its employees. And third, caused unnecessary litigation and is therefore liable to pay $188,000 in attorney fees. What are we to conclude from these findings of the court? Is the Ottawa Impact Board majority ever to be trusted? How dare they use the power as elected officials to exact retribution against an opponent? Does Ottawa Impact value the rule of law? Are the Ottawa Impact Commissioners competent to understand the law? Or is it a case that we have elected officials who believe they are above the law and that the ends justify the means? Whatever the answers to these questions may be, the court findings last month in 2 separate cases point to serious deficiencies on this board because of the actions of the board majority. The only final question is, will this board majority continue to try to abuse its power, skirt the law, and waste money in the 4 months left to it? Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Number 4, Dan Zimmer, Port Sheldon Township.
Morning, Dan Zimmer, Port Sheldon Township. There seems to be some question as to why expenditures have increased. The clueless demeanor by some board members is just precious. Let's start with a definition of 2-for-1 sale. Conventional wisdom, getting the benefit of 2 for the cost of 1. Ottawa Impact wisdom, paying for 2 and getting the benefit of only 1, as related to administrator firing, severance pay, and hiring payroll duplication. Next, the money spent in pursuit of revenge with the health department and the Ryan Kimball spillover. It is unfortunate that common law has given a no-bid contract to litigate the pet projects of Ottawa Impact. It is unfortunate taxpayer dollars are treated as other people's money in the dogmatic and vain pursuit of getting even. The clarity of fiduciary responsibility and money-wise judgment gets spoiled and distorted when driven by emotional revenge. It is no accident spending has increased, and it certainly is no mystery as to why.
Thank you.
That is all the pre-registered comments.
Great. Is there anyone else here who would like to give a public comment? Welcome.
morning. My name is Susan Franklin. I'm the Circuit and Probate Court Administrator, excuse me, here in Ottawa County. And I just wanted to talk to you about two things briefly. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for the Family Justice Center. We've been in that building for a month and a half now, and it has provided us with a lot of new opportunities to collaborate and work together, and we've really enjoyed that. So thank you to administration and to facilities for putting that together for us. I also wanted to mention the Recovery Court resolution that's on your agenda for today. Our Recovery Court is experiencing its 20th anniversary this year, and that's a huge milestone for us. The Recovery Court is an adult drug and alcohol sobriety court program that's been operated with our trial division director here, Cheryl Zorn, our director of our program, Andy Brown, excuse me, and Emily Ackerhoff, our case manager here today. And an important part of our program is Judge Mark Fyan. He's not here because unfortunately he did have a docket this morning, but he has been with the program since its inception, which is an amazing feat. And he's also going to be retiring at the end of this year. So having hit this milestone is especially sweet in that respect. So we appreciate the support that this county has given our program, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address the board?
Morning, Sheila Detloff, Holland Township. I just wanted to remind you all to please speak into your mics today. Usually I wait till the end and I tell you that we can't hear you. I'm just going to ask you right now, Sylvia, how you did it this morning when you asked that question of Mr. DeVries. That was perfect. We could hear everything you said. So just please follow that example. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address the board?
A few weeks ago, my name is Dave Barnowski and I vote in Port Sheldon Township. A few weeks ago, Lisa Ugansky came up here and asked you to address the Spoke Fund. A couple of you, quite frankly, insulted her because you felt insulted. I don't know how you people communicate with your departments, but from what I understand, it's not very well. Why isn't it on the agenda? There should be some way you could talk to them, find out why it's not, tell them how it can be resolved. It's been resolved for 11 years in a row. Your people are the only ones who brought up some sort of a problem. If you could keep an administrator in office, maybe that could be resolved. And somehow, are you trying to become the poster boy for sore losers? Filing to run as a write-in? Seriously? Is that what's going on here? You people can't take a message? You never really won on who you really were.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the board?
Morning, Karen Obitz, Spring Lake Township. I actually live in the village. So I'm here as well to add my voice to David Barnowski's as to the glaring absence from not only this board agenda, but from at least one or possibly two Finance and Administration Committee agendas regarding the Community Spoke Memorandum of Understanding and the need to push that now embodied in a contract as per instructions arrangement. So I urge this board to make sure that that is taken up so that those services that have already been rendered may be paid for. I'd also like to just make a brief comment about the idea that because Ottawa County is a conservative county, okay, historically, its people have voted that way. Republicans must therefore always embody certain conservative values and never experience any sort of evolution of thought or diversity of opinion, or we must see in this political party in our county, this constant infighting and division and censoring of each other and accusing them of rhino or Democrat pretense. You know, honestly, when I think about what this board might look like next year in terms of the various diverse opinions, whatever political party hat you wear, the idea here is that we're all in this together, both the board members and the community you serve. And all of our opinions, whatever party we tend to favor in our voting record, should be set aside on most of the mundane government responsibilities you are entrusted with. So I urge you to stop thinking so much with your partisan affiliation mindset and start thinking about how we together comprise the community of Ottawa County. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the board?
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Christy Motlink from Zealand Township. I'd like to follow up with Ms. Detloff's comments about behavior of county commissioners and employees. The social media policy that exists for county employees that was written from April of 2022 in Section 4D says all employees' use of social media on behalf of Ottawa County or their own private use of social media outside of official use must comply with all applicable laws, regs, etc. It says, while Ottawa County respects employees' First Amendment rights, references to Ottawa County employment on social media carries a goodwill of Ottawa County personnel. Any employee who uses social media in a way that causes Ottawa County to be cast in a negative light or that may cause the public to doubt the fairness of or goodwill of county personnel and the performance of their duties is subject to disciplinary action, including but not limited to termination. I pull out for you an example from Jacob Anima from his official county commissioner page. He calls out, he says, Ottawa Impact leaders have created an environment of total disrespect and distrust on the board because all decisions are predetermined. He says the Ottawa Impact establishment continues to break their own contract with Ottawa. He says they lack transparency. They hire 2 county administrators with no public interview process, no bid contract for common legal services, botched terminations resulting in gross severance payments, botching the budget, botching litigation, hiring unqualified administrators, including John Gibbs and John Anderson. I stand in disregard of the one for John Anderson because he has done a great job and has crossed party lines and worked well with many county employees. There's a whole nother story with that we'll get into on another day. Nominating Nathaniel Kelly, the HVAC guy. I can't believe he used that term knowing that that is a media slang and it's libel against his character in his resume. He says he's grossly unqualified to be health officer. Ben Wetmore, unvetted and unqualified to be deputy administrator. I find it absolutely appalling that he uses his platform to make these kind of accusations, whether that is what he believes or not, because that is him representing the county and casting it in a bad light. So I ask how the county social media policy applies and when it becomes applicable to become an issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the board?
Good morning. I'm Kurt Mepling. I vote in Zealand Township. I really wanted to talk to the county conservatives today and let them know that the primary was certain of things, of signs of things to come. Liberal Republicans and an astounding number of Democrats crossed over to vote in a Republican primary. That simply makes no sense to me. Ottawa County, I ask you to ask yourself why. And there are some rhinos that snuck in the general election. Phil Kyers and Jim Barry, a group of good old boy from the Good Old Boys Club in the establishment, are now gloating over their victorious win, even though they accepted votes from the other side. Jordan Drietzma is now the man. The same guy who sued his own party. Ask yourself, Ottawa County, why did he do that? Who is he? What is he doing? Makes no sense. If it's the old way of doing things and you want reckless spending and rubber stamping, if that's what you want, you're going to get it and you're going to earn it. Like the national setting, Ottawa County has to see how bad it will be, just remembering how it was just a few years ago and what it looks like now. Even our girl Kamala says she's going to fix the border. She's had 4 years to fix it. Ottawa County, what happened nationally is coming to you. And you will beg for it in 4 years. You will beg for the kind of leadership you have right now. Your freedom is at stake. You want to change this, vote for a true conservative and put the establishment where they belong, on the sideline. Write in Roger Belknap and Gretchen Cosby. Vote for Rob Thurkettle. Focus on who have been in politics and who are career politicians. Some of these people have been around for 20 years. They've accepted money from California. Ottawa County, beware, your freedom is in the balance. You have to think about what's going on. People think that it's a left or a right. This is a we the people thing, people. We the people. Everybody's voice gets to be heard. The Republican Party is in shambles because of Pete Hoekstra. And I just want to leave you guys with y'all are looking really good today, and I hope you have a good day.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address the board? All right, seeing none, we'll move on with the next item on the agenda, which is approval of the agenda. I get a motion, please. A motion and support. Do we have any discussion? Commissioner Zylstra.
No, thank you, Chair. Appreciate that. I did make a motion to add a discussion of the interim administrator position to the agenda for today.
We have a motion to
Second.
add a discussion about the interim
administration position.
administration position.
Administrator.
The interim administrator position. Could someone grab that microphone, please, and just tilt it down? That maybe that will help. Thank you. All right, has a second from Commissioner Bonema. Any discussion from the board? Commissioner Zylstra.
Yeah, no, it's just, residents have been coming up to me the last month or two and kind of asking about the administrator's office. And I think with the uncertainty of the, current administrator, interim administrator, I think it'd be a good time to have a discussion about the administrative office.
Okay, Commissioner Zylstra has a motion on the floor, and seeing no more discussion, we'll
I heard earlier that you were going to give an update on this.
Yes, yeah.
When are you going to give that update?
Today.
As in like this meeting or
Yeah.
after the meeting?
Yeah, today, during the meeting.
During the meeting.
Yep, as I've explained to Commissioner Zylstra. Yep. Okay, all in favor of approving the amendment to the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
All right, nays have it, and the motion is defeated. We are back to the main motion, approval of the agenda. Any other discussion? Any other amendments? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of approving today's agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that motion carried. All right, next up is consent resolutions. Any comments on the consent resolutions? Could I get a motion to approve the consent resolutions, please?
Motion to approve consent resolutions?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and support. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carried.
Yeah, you might have to do a roll call because there's money involved.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
Mr. Belknap.
Yes.
Mrs. Curran.
Yes.
Ms. Cosby.
Yes.
Mr. Bonema. Mrs. Rhodey.
Yes.
Mr. Zylstra.
Yes.
Mrs. Wenzel. Mrs. Medema.
Yes.
Mr. Moss.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, next up is public hearing. And the suggested motion is to open the public hearing to receive comments on the FY 2025 Ottawa County budget.
So moved. Or second.
Who would like to make the motion?
So moved.
Commissioner
Second.
Cosby and Commissioner Curran. All right. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of opening the public hearing, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carried. Okay. Is there any public comment? Welcome. Oh, okay. Just moving for a closer view. Okay, that's great. Okay, seeing no public comment here for the hearing, we're going to move to our next item, which is to close the hearing. We sure there's no public comment. Okay, could I get a motion to close the public hearing for the FY 2025 Ottawa County budget, please?
Second.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, and that motion carried as well. I believe there's some additional, probably a finance work session or something coming up maybe in a week. 17th, yeah, and then another board meeting for final budget approval.
Mr. Chair, could we get clarification on that? I did get a calendar invite to that, but my understanding is that I'm not actually invited to that. Correct?
Could be.
What, could you explain what you mean?
So Jordan sent me a calendar invite, and I'm not sure who else received one. But my understanding is that since I'm not on finance, I'm not actually invited.
Well, maybe we'll just turn it into a board meeting and have everybody come.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll
Should I put that on my calendar to be here then, or?
Well, I'll check with Chair Cosby and follow up right after the meeting.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay, so next we have agenda and action requests, and we have the Ottawa County Recovery Court resolution, and Commissioner Rhodey is going to read the resolution for us.
Okay. Resolution reads, whereas the County of Ottawa recognizes the importance of the work of the 20th Circuit Court's Recovery Court program, and whereas the Ottawa County Recovery Court is a voluntary intensive probation program that accepts defendants who are residents of Ottawa County and are convicted of nonviolent drug, alcohol-related felonies. And whereas the Ottawa County Recovery Court has the laudable mission of promoting recovery from addiction to alcohol and drugs and to reduce criminal activity by changing behaviors. And whereas the Recovery Court program began in January of 2004, and this year celebrates its 20th year of operation. And whereas the Honorable Mark A. Fyan has provided over the Ottawa County Recovery Court since its inception, and now therefore be it resolved that the Ottawa County Board of Commissioners does hereby recognize and congratulate the Ottawa County Recovery Court and Judge Fyan for 20 years of work changing lives of those addicted to drugs and alcohol and making our community safer. And be it further resolved that all resolutions and parts of resolutions insofar as they conflict with this resolution are hereby repealed.
All right. A motion. The County of Ottawa recognizes the importance of the work of the 20th Circuit Court's Recovery Court program, please.
So moved.
All right, a motion and support. Thank you, Commissioner Rhodey. Any comments? Any board members like to make comments on this? Besides a big thank you. Commissioner Curran.
I just have a quick question. It says at the end of the resolution, and don't get me wrong, I think the recovery courts are fantastic, but has there been a resolution that conflicted that needs to be repealed?
That's just standard language they put in
Okay.
almost all resolutions.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Commissioner Rhodey, yeah.
Yes, I just want to thank the court again for their work on this. Having witnessed, the devastation that addiction can cause to lives and to families and to children, and the breaking of families over these issues. I just really appreciate your work in restoring people and restoring families.
Commissioner Miedema.
Susan already spoke, but I wondered, they don't have to, but was there anyone else here that was hoping to say anything? I just wondered.
Be very welcome if you'd like to.
Morning. My name is Andy Brown. I'm the program coordinator for the recovery court at the circuit court. For the opportunity to just field some questions from the board and speak a bit more about the program. As you mentioned, Judge Fyan has been with the recovery court since the inception in 2005. January 1 is, is when we opened doors. And I have been with the program for nearly 15 years, and Emily Achterhoff, our case manager, for 17. And within the kind of state and the national realm, that type of longevity with the program is unique in and of itself. Our program is solely grant funded. So for 20 years, we have survived on grants. So we're a program that has also come at no direct cost to the taxpayers of Ottawa County. And that's a large part of my job, is securing the grant funds. And we work with funders at the state and at the federal level with the Department of Justice and Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. Over our 20 years, we've also had some really awesome achievements. We were selected as a national mentor court by the Department of Justice. We were one of 8 programs out of over 3,000 that was selected in the country. And we held that distinction for nearly 6 years, 2017 to 2022. And during that time, we had the opportunity to train court programs from around the country. So we actually hosted over 50 courts from around the United States, working with judges, attorneys, staff members, on how to improve their programs. Along the way, it also created some unique opportunities to participate in technical assistance projects at the national level. So we have all been guest speakers on nationally distributed webinars that have been hosted by the Department of Justice, by SAMHSA. We've also presented at over 25 state and national conferences, ranging from the National Association of Drug Court Professionals, the American Society of Addiction Medicine, among others. So some unique achievements, unique opportunities that have come over the years. And again, we appreciate the opportunity to be housed within Ottawa County, within the courts, and operate our program. Thank you. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer some.
Commissioner Cosby?
I want to thank you for coming forward and sharing the achievements of your program as well. We wouldn't have known it in that detail. So thank you very much, and thank you for your work. Curious, in order to get these awards, obviously there must be some data that you track as far as recidivism rates or recovery. Do you have any of that information at the tip of your tongue?
Yeah, I do. So the State Court Administrative Office does annual reports using like a quasi-experimental design, and we typically fall within a threshold of a 20 to 30% reduction in recidivism compared to a group of people who do not participate in. And within a realm of a human service program, it's significant. If we were to just do like a one group pre-post comparison, you say, oh, so we take our participants, you say, what did their criminal history look like 5 years before coming into our program? And what does it look like 5 years post-discharge? We actually see just over a 50% reduction.
That's fantastic. So without intervention versus with the intervention of your services. Yeah.
Yep.
Anyone else? Commissioner Miedema?
Just want to say thank you for coming up and for Susan coming up earlier. I really appreciate the extra information.
Thank you.
Commissioner Belknap?
Just one thing, what are the, I would say, main key factors of success with the folks that you're dealing with? What are the takeaways that we need to know?
Sure. I think the key to success, first, would be Emily Achterhoff, our case manager, and our probation office staff. They work incredibly hard with our participants. We work with a challenging group of people as well. So the typical person coming into our program has 2 to 3 felonies on their criminal record and anywhere from 10 to 12 misdemeanors. And the common theme with the population of people we work with, it's mental health and it's addiction. but it's also been a lack of access to treatment services and services to address the root cause behavioral issues. And it's hard to imagine, I can't just get sober. I can't yet. But also what you don't know, you don't know. And so many of our people grow up in profound dysfunction, have experienced significant trauma, and really need to be able to start working through those issues and understand what's going on within themselves. So that's really what we're trying to do with the program. So accountability is the big emphasis. And what we do is we hold people accountable, one, to a treatment plan. You need to be going to counseling. You need to be working in a life plan and doing goal setting. But then we also hold people accountable to the orders of the court, because we're about ensuring public safety. And with that, so again, we're very focused on behavioral responses. So if you're late for a drug test, there's going to be a response. And it's going to be measured. It's not we're throwing you in jail and putting you on the skids right away. It's going to be graduated. But likewise, if somebody's doing well, we're going to be acknowledging that too, and affirming what's going well and what are the target behaviors that we want to see. So that's the approach.
Thank you.
Commissioner Rhodey?
Yes, did your other, I can't remember your title, but did you want to speak too? You looked like you did.
Hi, my name's Emily Octoroff. I wasn't planning on speaking today, but thank you for the opportunity. And really, actually, what I want to read to you is a letter that I wrote in 2014. And we read this to the board then, so I'll just kind of leave you with basically the same words. I've been working with Recovery Court since December of 2007 as the case manager probation officer. I enjoy my job, fully committed to helping our participants recover and be positive members of our community. I have forged many positive relationships and walked alongside our participants in recovery. We have an amazing and great team that what we do goes unnoticed. We accept that, we do that, so I wasn't going to come up here and talk today, just the hands and feet on the ground doing the work. Nationally, our slogan is, whenever one person rises out of addiction and crime, we all rise. When the integrational cycle of drug and addiction in a family is broken and healing begins, we all rise. We all rise when a drug court guides an offender past the chaos and wreckage and towards recovery. So this was in 2014. This is what I said. On August 3, just over 5 weeks ago, my father-in-law, David Octorhoff, was killed by a drunk driver in Holland. My family's devastated. We were broken. We experienced the immense heartache every day without him. My 2 boys, I now have 3, will never spend more time with him. We'll never call him grandpa. We'll never give him a hug or play Legos for hours. We'll never see his smile or the joy that he had for life. He won't be able to walk my sister-in-law down the aisle. She's now married. This could happen to your family too. Addiction has enormous negative effects. Recovery can have redemption in the individuals and the lives of their family. I was doing this job long before this happened, but Recovery Court has the ability to help individuals achieve recovery. It's imperative that we continue to function in the community of Ottawa County. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Bonema?
I know it's hard to get up and speak, and that was a very moving letter. Thank you for taking the time to read that to us. We're in budget season right now. I just wanted to check in with all of you to see, do you have the tools and budget to accomplish the goals that you're setting out to accomplish in 2025?
At this time with our grant funding, it does appear to be adequate as we head into fiscal year 25. We are awaiting our grant awards from the State Court Administrative Office and a new grant from the Department of Justice. I hope to know within the next 2 weeks. And should those come through, I think we will be okay for FY25. We have submitted a reorganization request to the board as part of this funding cycle. The big challenge that we have now, particularly going on 20 years with being grant funded, is I think of us as being self-employed, in the private sector, or in the public sector in this respect, but we don't have a diversified funding stream. I'm only going to 3 funders, and threading that needle of getting funding you have to continue to scale the program and enhance the program. And with that come ever-changing responsibilities and differences in workload. And that is what our reorganization request is addressing, to reflect accurately what we've been doing for years and where we're headed. And that's also going to keep us in a competitive posture for pursuing and receiving.
Thank you.
So if that could be entertained, that would be respectfully requested. And we'd be able to meet with the finance committee or any other committees to talk about that.
Thank you. All right, well, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you for the
And
time.
it's great to
Yeah.
hear.
Thank you.
Okay. Did we take that last one to a vote?
Not yet.
No? Okay, then let's do it. All in favor of approving this resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that motion carried. All right, thank you. Next up is committee report, and we have Shannon McGoran here with us today. I was looking in the audience. I was like, where is she sitting? She's already there.
Doing double duty today.
Right, that's great. Yes, Jordan is usually sitting there, and I believe he's on a beach with a rifle.
Hmm.
Right? Or in a helicopter or something like that, military training. We'll hear when he gets back.
Try to move this mic where you can hear me. Hear me well. Thank you for letting me be here today. I'm excited to share my innovation and improvement update with you and talk about some things that I've been working on. My name is Shannon McGoran, and I lead the innovation and improvement effort here at the county. I'd like to start off sharing a study. I think you all have that in front of you in the packet, so I'm going to feed through it there. I like to share this study with groups and talk about a study that was conducted by NASA. They studied 1,600 children to measure their divergent thinking, or their ability to look at an object, problem, issue, or challenge and come up with multiple solutions. The more solutions you come up with, the higher that you score. And I know a few of you have already heard this study at one time, but I like to share it and talk a little bit about it. You can see the 4 to 5-year-olds, the kindergartners, scored 98%. So they were able to come up with multiple solutions rapidly. At 15 years old, already dropped to 12%. And then adults, average age 31 years old, over 1 million were tested, dropped to 2%. So I just like to ask, when I'm sharing this information, maybe somebody could shout out to me, why do you think there's such a drastic decrease between the kindergarteners and the 15-year-olds, and then continuing down to adults from there? Curious if somebody wants to share what they think may be the cause of that.
I'll guess a cause of it. I don't know if it's the whole cause of it, but I think that we're taught to comply and to care what other people think. So we're less inclined to think outside the box and share our thoughts.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. We go through our school age years and we're taught to follow rules. So the critical thinking part of our brain can outweigh that part of our brain that might be willing to take a risk, to try a new idea, to be creative, to be innovative. And the neurons in our brain can actually fight against each other between our left brain and right brain. So we want to be able to provide a process here at the county in the improvement work so that we can lean into those new tools and new ways of problem solving to help come up with multiple solutions and be more innovative and come up with some creative ideas on how to make improvements. This is an image that Patrick Adams shared at one of the conferences I went to. And he shares that all operational problems are known to staff. Most are known to supervisors,
but only a few are really known to top managers and middle managers. Google encourages employees to spend 20% of their time on what they feel will benefit Google. They've had many significant advances done this way, and it really allows the staff time to become more innovative and more creative. And I saw an interesting statistic that in the public sector, 80% is busy work, 20% is knowledge work, but the reverse is true in private industry. 20% busy work, 80% knowledge work. So we want to be able to provide a process and provide some tools and techniques, mindsets and concepts that help us lean into overcoming the busy work so that we can improve bottlenecks, increase efficiencies, and be more effective. Many or those closest to the process know the problems the best and really have the best ideas for improvement. Michael Goodman, the city manager of the city of Sugar Land, Texas, says the best ideas do not come from executives. The best ideas come from the people serving the citizens. And we know the barriers and they know the problems that exist that keep us from best serving our community. This is a survey done by Gallup, and it shows that less than 1 in 3 US employees believe that they're encouraged to come up with new and better ways of doing things. As of 2022, engagement had fallen to a 7-year low and is positively correlated with innovating and improving in the workplace. Aiji Toyoda, the former president of Toyota Motor Company, said that people are the most important asset of Toyota and the determinant of the rise and fall of Toyota. My vision for improvement here at the county is to create a mindset in which every team member at every level is engaged, empowered, and inspired to improve daily through continuous team learning and team problem solving. John Knotts, who served 21 years in the operational excellence in the Air Force, describes a culture of innovation as an organizational environment that encourages and supports the generation, exploration, and implementation of new ideas and creative solutions. He explains that such a culture nurtures an environment where individuals are inspired to improve processes, products, and services continuously. So we want to scale, sustain, and support a culture of innovation and daily improvement here at the county. Innovation and problem solving will help to streamline operations and deliver exceptional results. Taken from David Marquet in his book, Turn the Ship Around, everyone in every role at the county can be both a leader and an innovator. One of the goals in the current countywide strategic plan is to continually evaluate our existing processes to ensure that critical resources are allocated for service delivery where the best outcomes are achieved. I'd like to share a video by Tom Wujek talking about the Marshmallow Challenge. And I want you to pay attention to the duh moment versus the uh-oh moment. And we'll see if I can get this to play. Okay, it's coming up.
Yep.
That was pretty much everything I wanted to share with you. So as adults, this is what we do: plan, execute, plan, execute, plan, execute. We find that single right plan and then we execute on it. We like to find quick solutions. We have a lot to do. We want to move on to our next tasks. But the kindergartners are able to instinctively build successive prototypes and follow an iterative process naturally. The improvement pattern or process improvement gives us adults a mindset and a routine and an avenue to iterate toward our goals through an iterative process that tests our ideas. It uses a scientific process to develop solutions. So this is a 4-step improvement pattern or process of scientific thinking. And it was discovered and created when research was done by Mike Rother at Toyota. At Toyota, work is constructed as experiments that yield continuous learning and continuous improvements. And using this pattern, problems are identified, solutions are proposed, and then we compare our expected results to what actually happens. We want to be able to set the focus or the direction or a challenge in the first step, something we want to achieve. We may not know exactly how we want to achieve it. The second step is we really need to look at how our current process is performing, what is currently happening, and then we do some experimenting. We make a prediction, we make a hypothesis on what we think will happen, and then we observe the outcome. And we'll base our next step based on what we learned from the prior step. Because we really don't know how well our ideas will work or if they're going to work. When we come up with ideas, we don't know what other things they may affect. With traditional problem solving, we overcome multiple obstacles at one time. We're working on multiple tasks at one time, and it's just kind of the human nature of how we work. I'd like to share some accomplishments to date. 220 staff have participated in the countywide innovation and improvement training and team building. 213 staff have completed the online continuous improvement training, fundamental training. 144 staff have participated in the PDCA simulation training. 137 staff have applied the continuous improvement framework to 85 different projects or challenges. And 239 staff have worked on 45 innovation or improvement goals, issues, or problems. I'd like to share a few of the bigger accomplishments that departments have participated in. The first one is the improvement fiscal made to their mileage policy.
They were able to reduce the time to complete the form as well as reduce the processing time for both staff and accounts payable. Public Health significantly increased their online customer service survey rate through process improvement. And the Treasurer's Office automated their change order tracking system for new tax bills, saving staff time by decreasing the number of interruptions to the supervisor. IT was also able to develop a project evaluation method, achieving 100% buy-in from departments, which exceeded their 90% goal. Environmental health reduced time spent on mileage reimbursement forms and the payment cycle. CMH was able to reduce their eligibility screening time per consumer, and their Access team increased their response to calls live. The Access team also improved gathering eligibility call data and decreased their walk-in request times. Mark Graben, in his book, Measures of Success, shares that we don't manage the metric, we manage the system that leads to the results, and we lead the people who help us improve the system. I'd like to share a video testimonial here, or a success story, with Christy Chittenden, the former IT supervisor, and Anna Llewellyn, former quality improvement data technician. And they just do a really good job of sharing what they worked on and what the benefits were and what some of the challenges were. So that's why I chose this to highlight. a few more success stories that I would like to share, and I promise I'm getting closer to the end here. Parks and Recreation, Public Health, GIS, and the Strategic Impact Departments use the six thinking hats technique to improve park exploration and park activity. They were able to increase their participation by over 235% when they worked on that. And they also improved their logo there on the bottom right, highlighting other activities in the parks as well. And we laugh a little bit about this project because they had such an increase in participation that people had to park. I forget which park it was at, but they weren't even able to park in the parking lot. They were parking down the driveway and on the road. And they had this, massive amount of people on the trail that couldn't really hear the guide. So that's kind of a great example of when we do make an improvement in one area, we don't always know what other areas it's going to affect. So we just want to be able to keep working on our obstacles and continuously making those improvements. Abby Ritter pulled together a cross-departmental group to work on creating a facilities newsletter. She was able to move my screen here, sorry. She wanted the team to come together to think about what contributions and worthwhile content that she could share in the facilities newsletter. One of the challenges that we had with the group was that she realized both her aha moment and a challenge that a lot of county staff doesn't really know the daily tasks and responsibilities of the facilities department. So we had to kind of do some pre-work on, well, what kind of educate people on what those tasks are before we could dive into the improvements. So the tools and techniques are very subjective, very flexible with however you need to use them to best serve your needs. This is a screenshot here of the online innovation playbook. It was developed as a resource for all staff to try out the different mindsets and tools and techniques and concepts. We like to call it playbook. We believe that the spirit of play can be involved in teamwork, and the rules really are flexible depending on what tool or technique you're wanting to use. You can modify them, and I would encourage everybody to take a look at those tools. You can use them both for anything work-related and at home. And the URL there is playbook.miottawa.org. There's additional videos on there, but additional testimonials of what teams have been able to do as well. I want to share a little bit about the mindfulness training. A Forbes article states that research at Google, Aetna, and Intel have shown that increasing mindfulness in the workplace decreases stress level while improving focus, thoughtfulness, decision-making abilities, and overall well-being. We believe that if we apply our hearts and minds to our work here at the county, it will continue improving the county culture. It will continue improving service delivery to our constituents, and will bring us joy as well. So the image on the left there kind of shows that the monkey mind, or all these thoughts are happening in our brain every day. We have many things to do. We're kind of swinging branch to branch, thing to thing to thing. So sometimes something will trigger us. It can be a good feeling. It can be a bad feeling, happy, frustrated, joy, disappointment. And naturally, being human beings, we're taught to, we tell ourselves a story right away. We fill in those blanks that we don't really know yet. That can affect our mood, that can affect our disposition. So staff have really enjoyed this training, that it just kind of helps them slow down, stop, and think about what's happening currently in the moment. The facilitator teaches the tenets of mindfulness, and then he gives you tools and techniques that just kind of help you stop, take a step back, and think about maybe the story you're telling yourself isn't what's really happening. And that's really not our fault. It's just our human brains filling in those boxes so that we can move on to the next thing. So I want to share another testimonial, and that will be the last one. Very short.
Shannon, I'm sorry to interrupt. There was a technical difficulty in hearing the audio for those that are watching the live stream for the video portion. I'm wondering, is there a setting that needs to be flipped so that folks at home that are watching can hear the videos as they're playing?
You want me to do that real quick?
I guess it's, Folks
Well,
at home are
we-
not
we-
able to hear anything.
So since a couple of videos we couldn't hear, maybe you could make them available afterwards.
Thank you.
Thank you for letting me know. Yeah, it might have been the file, opening the file might be causing that. So I chose Amanda Hurst from the deputy probate, former deputy probate clerk. And I chose her specifically because, again, she just does a really good job talking through how she was able to apply that training to her work here at the county. Just a few things that I would like to do as future goals or next steps. I would like to create an innovation and improvement champion team of early adopters to embed improvement and continual learning into departments. I'd like to create an electronic idea bank or suggestion box that could leverage employees' ideas and help improve employee engagement. And I would like to facilitate a book club with directors that talks about bringing scientific thinking to life. We know that there's value in scientific thinking and experimenting and trying our ideas before we fully implement them. We know that staff here at the county are hungry for learning. And Ben Hesius, the head of manufacturing productivity at BMA Consulting, says to make your operating environment a learning academy. And that's what we really try to do here at the county with our trainings and professional development. Okay, last slide. I'd like to share a story about Henry Ford. He had a dream to make the automobile available to everybody who wanted one. He was able to cut the cost of making the car in half. He was able to double his workers' wages. And he believes that continuously improving was essential to Ford's success. He shares a story about the V8 engine. He told his engineers, I want that engine cased in one block or one casting. They kept telling him for 12 months, they went back and forth. We can't do it. It's impossible. And he said, share your obstacles with me. I'll walk alongside you to overcome them. I want that casting in one block. Took 14 months, but they were able to crack the secret. And I like to share that because sometimes what seems impossible just takes a little longer. If we keep trying and we keep working at it and we have a process to do that, we'll make those improvements and we'll exceed expectations and goals. So thank you for your time today. I appreciate being able to share what I've been working on here at the county. I also want to thank the departments that have leaned into this process. It's a little bit ambiguous. It takes some courage. You have to overcome that fear of failure if maybe one experiment step isn't going to work, but we want to keep being vulnerable, keep moving forward, keep making our improvements. And I would just like to encourage any staff, directors, managers that haven't yet attended the innovation and improvement training and team building, that there's one scheduled on Tuesday, October 1 from 9:30 to noon virtually. So please attend and learn more about what's happening here at the county with innovation and improvement. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions? Thank you, Shannon.
I just want to make a statement too, because change management has been a focus of mine through my career, and it takes about 18 to 24 months to really effectively affect change, where it really takes hold. And something you said at the very beginning is that people support change they help create, and I think that is so important. Do you have like particular tools that our team members here at the county find most valuable? Because we did like a process flow mapping, for instance, but
I think
looking at some of
there's
the
a
your
few-
improvements. Yeah.
I think I would say 3 of them off the top of my head I can think of that are really helpful because you can go through kind of the whole process and get to the end and you have something tangible to leave with. And depending on what you're working on, it's very subjective. There's a lot of different design thinking tools. There's different continuous improvement tools. Depending on what teams want to work on, I just try to develop something and customize something that will best fit their needs. But there are definitely some top techniques and top tools and activities that I would suggest teams use, and I think that they prefer because they get kind of a bigger bang for their buck in a smaller amount of time.
Absolutely. So no, your process improvement demonstrates where we're able to save time, build efficiencies, improve our quality, and it is a continuous process. Never ends.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Miedema.
It's just something that kind of made me think about my past employment with teaching preschool. I think preschoolers tend to enjoy the process. It's not about the end goal right away. And so I think as adults, we're in this mindset of wanting to speed things up because somehow we're wasting time instead of enjoying the hard work of going through the process, because kids at that age tend to enjoy that part of it. And so it's trying to get back to finding out that it can be enjoyable, but it takes a little bit.
Absolutely. And honestly, it can be, I think, painful for people to slow down. I just want to make that improvement. I don't care about what's currently happening. It's been tough. And I think kindergarteners, I like that, your comment on that. And maybe that's why they just go in leading into it and enjoying the process. One of the phrases we use is you have to slow down to speed up. You have to slow down and think about what you're currently doing before we can speed up and make good improvements.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Next on our agenda is public comment. Wait just a moment. Is there anyone here who would like to offer public comment? Welcome. I have 3 minutes, and if you start with your name and where you vote, that would be great.
I want to correct myself on a comment that I made earlier. I know I said something about like.
You start with your name, please.
Oh, you don't know my name?
For the public.
Oh, for the public. For the public, my name is Orlando Estrada in the city of Holland, not to be confused with the township. All right, so I want to correct myself from my public comment earlier. Basically, I said if we purchase cameras, I know that we are purchasing cameras, so I want to correct that. But more importantly is, correct me if I'm wrong, I guess you guys can't speak during public comment, I'll call all of you guys, but weren't we approved for body cameras even 7 years ago? Because where'd that money go? Where'd that equipment go? That's kind of a big deal. But wanted to make sure that everything's all kosher, just in case I have a chance to sit up there. So just want to make that to the point. And again, just want to make it official. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to offer public comment? Is there anyone online who would like? Oh, we have one more we have a couple more in person. Then we'll go to online.
Good morning again, Rebecca Patrick, Allendale. I'd like to recap and address what happened here this morning regarding the position of an interim county administrator. We know that the interim county administrator has signaled his intention to leave. We know that Commissioner Zylstra made a motion to place a discussion item regarding the position of an interim administrator on the agenda. This was defeated, and it's hard to discern why. Instead, we're told that the chair intends to provide an update at the end of this meeting after this public comment. So, a couple of observations. There are 11 people on this board. They and their constituents and the public deserve knowledge and input into every aspect of the process and decision regarding the county administrator position, now and at every applicable board and committee meeting until the position is filled. Not at some time in the future of the chair's choosing, after the chair alone or with some subset of the board has made decisions about the timing, process, or anything else. It would be helpful and transparent if the chair got input in public from the people's elected representatives sitting here at the earliest step of any consideration of next steps. And there is an additional consideration. Do you intend to begin a process to permanently fill the administrator's position now before December 31st? Attempting to seek candidates for and fill this position now will put the county and its residents and programs at a huge competitive disadvantage. Are you aware that state law MCL 4611N prohibits the board from offering more than a one-year contract to an administrator hired between now and December 31st? What competent, highly qualified candidate would apply for this job under those circumstances? For that reason alone, any action to fill this job permanently needs to wait until January of 2025. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in person?
Diane Fixie, and I live in Zealand. And I'd kind of like to add on what you just said, Becky. Shannon, you talked about collaboration, and it would be really nice if the board could lead that by example. Doug asked to add the interim administrator to the board, which was declined. And I'm wondering, why would you decline this request if you plan to talk about it already? Why not put it on the minutes so we can find it later when we want to hear about it? And your report is after public comment, which means we don't get to comment about it. Everybody's concerned about it. Why not put it on the agenda? It makes me think that you have something to hide. Why not be more transparent about it? It doesn't make sense to me.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in person?
Bob Stamen, London Township. I wasn't going to say anything this morning, but now that you've opened Pandora's box with the county administrator and what might happen, I think Mr. Anderson did a smart move and a right move to resign, take something that he might have more success in. He obviously thinks that new administration, he would not be retained. I think anybody who comes on as the county administrator or interim county administrator will also be IO or Ottawa Impact person and will be perceived as that, even if they aren't. I think that their credentials might be less than desired, might not fit the role that this person is taking. And I think you need to consider that. I would even put my resume in for that position, except I miss one point in the hiring process. I'm not OI, I'm not Ottawa Impact. But I certainly have the resume that shows that I've been there before, done that, and I would gladly do it. But your mind is probably already made up, as always, never any transparency. And I would hope that you would have some look into an experienced person for the position, not somebody like Mr. Wetmore, totally out of the line with his experience. Not anybody else that I can see in OI. You're just going to put another big fool into that job that can't handle it. And it shows me that you're also just very arrogant in doing that. I don't think the other commissioners have been part of the process of that. I don't know what your big announcement is. We'll see at the time. But what else is there? Nothing. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Ginger Greenlee from Park Township. I want to challenge you all to consider, what is the disaster plan that you have in place for our election system should things go awry? If we are a constitutional county, if the county level is where the lowest group of government takes place, for we the people, of the people, by the people, what will we be doing when the supposed unrest unfolds? I happen to be at Washington, D.C. on J6. I got to watch a lot. I sat on the concrete wall as I saw things unfold. But before we sat on the wall, my friend's daughter, only 23 years old, said, "Mama, this is all staged. Mama, this is staged." And we knew that they had very low number of policemen out. And we knew that Nancy Pelosi had refused to allow the National Guard to be a part. And we knew that Antifa was going to be a part, but we weren't sure when. I didn't know 4 buses of Antifa people were going to be delivered. We didn't know there are all these people that would be provocateurs and paid actors. We do know that Soros's money is behind a lot of stuff. We do know that in our own government, our own Secretary of State has had 8 lawsuits that she has lost. So there's stuff happening, but we can't just pretend we're just going to watch stuff happen. We've done that already. What is insanity? Watching and thinking that you're going to do the same thing again, and you'll see what? Similar results. We do know that there has been election fraud. We do know that 2020 was not accurate. We do know that we've been able to see all these 4 years of a farce of a residency at the presidency in Washington, D.C. Are people awake enough to know that we are losing our country? This election is going to be the greatest election ever that could be the downfall of our country. What are we doing at the county level? Are we just going to let the state dictate to us as a constitutional county? Are we going to let her and the others that seem to run our state, that are being run by higher paid people, dictate to us how we're going to keep track of our own voting in our own county to have accuracy? We know there's been algorithms. We know there's been cheating of all sorts of ways. I had the pleasure of listening to Mark Cook, who said that elections belong to the citizens, not politicians, not government, not corporations, not the media. It belongs to us. We need to be responsible for our own county. And then, as many know, Pat Colbeck.
Thank you.
Pat Colbeck was way ahead of his time. He's still.
Thank you.
Ian Zimmer, Port Sheldon Township. My comments are directed toward the August 29 recount. If you are a perfectionist, the variance between election and recount results is likely causing distress. The expectation that the recount should have mirrored the election and did not, frankly, is the wrong fixation. The recount was the belief that some anomaly, some system glitch faulted the true results. The recount validated that the voter's choice was Phil Kyers. Most reasonable persons are able to rationalize that. However, there are some that view the recount variance as more proof not to trust vote results and make unsubstantiated claims of voter fraud. That dripping faucet must not be allowed to drip, drip, drip. At the July 9 Board of Commissioners meeting, Kendra Wenzel made claims of voter fraud. Justin Roebuck asked her to forward evidence so he could follow up. To date, no supporting facts have been presented by Kendra Wenzel. That dripping faucet must not be allowed to drip, drip, drip. To yell voter fraud as a prank is as egregious as yelling fire in a crowded theater for grins and giggles. I think it would be in the interest of all to put down some of these false urban legend concerning fraud. If the drip, drip, drip continues, it will exacerbate challenges and recounts at every election.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in person?
Karen Obitz, Spring Lake. Three thoughts. To follow up on some of the comments regarding this board's supervisory responsibility over against the county administrator position. It's my understanding that that is the only direct supervisory role this board has in terms of county administration employees. All the more reason why I believe Commissioner Zylestra's motion should not have been defeated, that there should have been, excuse me, some discussion on the part of this board in this public setting regarding the current status of that position. Secondly, twice in the course of this meeting, I have heard comments that to my ears seem like something that we want to just consider our side versus their side, or my view of the world versus their view of the world, or all's fair in politics. And both, to my ears, were resoundingly misogynist. We heard Vice President Kamala Harris referred to as our girl. Sit with that just for a minute. Our girl. And a moment ago, we heard ostensibly some elected official in this state referred to as her. This is important. This is the way ideas grow legs, become movements, and become extremely divisive politics. The misogyny about those comments cannot go unrefuted. They must be called out. Anyone within the hearing of those comments and my voice, please do think about the way we use language that not only disrespects people, but perpetuates this idea of one gender being somehow inferior or less capable or not worthy of the other gender's worth. That was not spoken elegantly because this feels really awful to me. And the last thing is about the constant drip, drip, drip of election fraud commentary. When we hear that this is a really pivotal election, it could be, something that leads to the downfall of our country. Only we can erode the bedrock of our country's form of government, its democratic system. And that's by accusing others of things for which we really, really have no proof. And if the recount didn't show us all that our elections are fair and free, I don't know how to convince you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in person who would like to give a public comment?
Hello again, Commissioners. I'm Christy Moplink from Zealand Township. First, I want to add an additional comment to follow up on my prior item. I'm curious if there are any regulations or laws pertaining to county commissioners blocking people, especially their constituents, from their official social media accounts. Calling people angry moms and blocking people speaks to character. Second, following up on Orlando Estrada's comments, I will add some additional insight regarding the change of the county logo from the Native American Indian to the landscape logo shown behind the commissioners. Why would the heritage of Ottawa County be changed by a board of old white men just a few years ago? That speaks to their lack of good judgment. It seems the revised logo change actually does not fit with the DEI mindset if it means erasing a prior demographic. Speaking of DEI, that brings me to prior commissioner and current nominee Phil Kyers. Upon comments made by him and the attitude shared by Commissioner Bonomo that I shared previously, it's no wonder that the county is losing out on a well-qualified administrator who had the ability to work with all people and was respected by many county employees. It seems interim administrator John Anderson is choosing to leave the county after seeing the writing on the wall. Or should I say after hearing the spoken words of Phil Kyers at an interview with a left-leaning Democratic organization as follows.
To do on day one, or what is at the top of your list that you would like to implement with the Board of Commissioners?
But day one, I'd be looking at and working with HR and going through and define a really good administrator, a qualified administrator, one that knows how to run county government. That's my number one thing to do right away.
So all that said, I wish Administrator Anderson happiness and success in his future endeavors and thank him for his work he's done. It's ironic that the community accepts the idea that a new board will fire placements made by the current board, but didn't like it when the prior board acted against placements made when they were coming on board. It seems we have come full circle. And speaking of the election issues, it was just announced that 82 out of 83 counties in Michigan failed to balance in the primary election. Every single one except Casca. That's not just a drip, drip, drip. That's a significant issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in person who would like to give a public comment?
Sheila Dutloff, Holland Township. I just wanted to talk about the administrator issue from the perspective of the video that Shannon shared with the TED Talk about the marshmallow experiment, where they talked about planning and executing versus an iterative procedure. And it seems to me that what's been followed in the past has been, like in the past year and a half with Ottawa Impact, is the plan and execute procedure, where you identify a preferred candidate, and then the criteria is matched to that particular candidate. We've seen that with John Gibbs. We saw it with John Anderson. We saw it with Ben Wetmore. We saw it with the Coleman Legal Group. We saw it with Jordan Epperson. Or you can, or in other circumstances, they would select somebody who's just dropped into their lap. For example, like Dr. Bashir's with community mental health, who fortunately is very qualified. But in that case, not doing a search at all. Instead, I would challenge you, if you do choose to go ahead with trying to find a permanent one-year administrator, to use that iterative approach. For the past hires, you have been like the business students in that marshmallow experiment. And so I would challenge you to be more like the kindergartners. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, is there anyone online?
There are two people online. Lori is the first one. She can talk now.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Lori Grassman, Robinson Township. Integrity, the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles. I am a conservative who believes in our Constitution, in limited government, and in traditional values. I am extremely disappointed when the liberal Republicans teamed up with far-left Democrats in the primary a few weeks ago. Because of this alliance, thousands of Democrats crossed over, chose authoritarianism, and chose the Republican candidate. Now, they would claim that they only have that choice because of Ottawa County being a conservative county, and yet there was a Democrat in every commissioner race. So why didn't they choose their own? Well, I believe that Robert Spayman tells us exactly why they didn't choose their own. Quote, and Democrats need to vote for Republicans who are not the Ottawa Impact candidates in the primary in August to oust the OI at the primary, since Democrat candidates are already decided. Then vote for whoever they want in the general election in November. This is why I'm extremely happy that Roger Belknap and Gretchen Cosby, two proven conservative commissioners, will be running as write-in candidates in the general election, because they are not willing to stand down and allow Democrats to choose the Republican candidates. They are willing to stand up for true integrity, being moral and upright, because the Democrats are choosing to say nice words like unite, and we want to not be divisive. We want to be nice. We want to do these things. No, they actually want to, and I quote, this is no joke. These people are dangerous and must be removed from society. They have no business existing in secular and free nation. Send them packing. Make it so bad for them that they flee reality that is freedom in Ottawa County. They would like to take Ottawa Impact out, and those who believe in Ottawa Impact. How do we know this? That is their whole campaign strategy. Every candidate, I am non-OI. I am the non-OI candidate. The only policy they had was that they were not OI. So thank you for standing up, Gretchen and Roger Belknap. Write them in November. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have one more, Adria Hill. She can speak now.
Hello, Adria Hill from Holland Township. I'd like to talk about the budget process and something to consider as you continue to look at the budget for next year. Recently, during a compensation committee meeting, the compensation committee approved increases to many public elected officials' salaries. However, this board has not taken any action on that. And so I'm curious if that has been enacted into the budget. I don't see those changes reflected in the budget. So I feel like there's a little bit of limbo on whether or not this board is approving and accepting those increases, or if they are quietly turning them down through the budget work. Thank you.
Thank you. Last call for public comment.
My name is Dave Barnowski, and I voted for Port Sheldon Township. Lori Grassman is wrong as far as I'm concerned. My strategy was this: vote out the worst in August, and that was Ottawa Impact. I don't consider Ottawa Impact to be a conservative Republican group. I consider you to be far beyond Republican. I consider you to be a fringe Republican group that has hijacked the Republican Party. And I think that the Republican Party has been hijacked on every level: county, state, and federal. I think the entire Republican Party is corrupt right now. And I think the shortest route to fixing the Republican Party is a Democratic sweep. I don't think I'm going to get it, but that would be, from my point of view, the best way to correct the deficiencies in every level of the Republican Party, would be a Democratic sweep. As far as the elections go, an imbalance in a precinct is a mistake. And every time I see somebody complain about an imbalance in a precinct, almost every time I've ever seen it, it's usually from someone who doesn't run elections, who hasn't been to any of the events showing how elections are run. And it usually has some other error of grammar or typing or spelling or some other error, and some other human error in their presentation of how they're complaining about it. And they don't see the correlation between human error in their own presentation and the many humans who are involved in how elections are run. Humans are involved in elections. There are individual small errors in every election. The canvassing of elections reviews those errors, corrects many of them, and brings them down and eliminates many of them. Every review would bring fewer of them. A recount brought fewer of them. They found 5. If you were to do another recount of that election, you might find 1 more, maybe 2 more. No election is going to be perfect. The only thing is, the larger number of reviews you get, the more times the more of the small errors will be found and brought out. That doesn't mean there are large errors changing the totals. The rest of it is nonsense.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else for public comment? All right, seeing none, I just have a couple updates. Has been mentioned, Interim Administrator John Anderson is planning to return to the job that he had. They have been holding that for him. And that is a decision he made known last week. We have had some conversations, and we are talking about him staying on a little bit longer through the transition process this year. Regarding the process, we want to make sure we're leveraging best practices, especially like CMH has done this year in their executive search, and rely on proven processes, recommended by recruiting agencies. And yes, this is fresh, and we'll keep everyone updated. I also want to mention that I'm very, very thankful for seeing the life-saving awards today and hearing about the recovery court. These are people in Ottawa County who are serving individuals and promoting life and protecting our citizens. Those are our neighbors. Those are people in our community. Those are individuals who would not be alive if the people who were serving had not taken the actions they did. So we can be very thankful for that. And so thank you. This meeting is adjourned.